This is the M1 MacBook Air from 2020, and I gotta say, it is one of the best MacBooks ever made. Now I know that's a hot take, but stay tuned to find out why I really believe that. I just picked this up on Facebook Marketplace from someone for like $300, and yeah, while it's definitely not in perfect condition, it does have a few scratches here and there. It also has a few stains on the lid. I'm not sure if you can see these, but look, for $300, who cares? Especially since this guy is almost identical to the MacBook Neo in so many ways. Oh, and by the way, that's a $700 MacBook. Sure, that gets you a brand new MacBook Neo, but this thing for half the price, yeah, the M1 Air is just simply a better purchase for the vast majority of people. And here's the crazy part, it actually has some things that the MacBook Neo does not, such as a backlit keyboard, a Force Touch trackpad, actual Thunderbolt ports, and faster storage. But anyway, this MacBook Air came out in 2020, which is 6 years ago. Yeah, time flies. So how come it's still so incredibly good and usable today? Well, the thing is, it's still quite fast, and I'm thinking it has enough performance for 95% of customers out there. And yes, that's a number that I literally just came up with, by the way, but all jokes aside, you get my point. This is more than good enough for the vast majority of users out there. But why? Well, two words for you. Apple Silicon. The M1 chip inside of this thing was so ahead of its time, it's not even funny. Like, look, it's so much faster and so much more efficient than Intel chips from previous years that it's not even funny at this point. Look, for a bit of context, if you upgraded from a 2019 13-inch MacBook Air with Intel to this guy, a 2020 MacBook Air with the M1, the jump was so huge that it's actually a bigger year-over-year jump than going from the M1 to the latest M5 chip, which are 5 years apart. Yes, you gained more performance and efficiency in that single year than you gained from 5 years of Apple Silicon, since we've had Apple Silicon. Oh, and by the way, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe as it helps out a lot. Thank you so much. And yes, the MacBook Air only has 8GB of RAM, but so does the Neo. And while it will go into SSD swap quite often because, 8GB is really not cutting it nowadays, here's the thing, the SSD inside of the M1 Air is almost twice as fast as the SSD inside of the MacBook Neo. So hey, that's really a bonus point for the M1 Air if you're keeping score at home. And look, when this thing runs out of RAM, yeah, it starts slowing down, there's no two ways around it. But it doesn't slow down as much as the Neo just because of those SSD speeds and this, the swap happens much faster. So what about performance? Well, performance-wise, the M1 has similar multi-core performance to the A18 Pro instead of the Neo, while single-core performance is indeed a bit slower. And yes, single-core is what you're using day to day, but with the, faster SSD speeds, in real use, the Neo and the M1 Air are practically identical. In the graphics department, it's also quite a similar story. It's very similar to the Neo, and keep in mind, for half of the price. Oh, and by the way, speaking of these MacBooks, I would quickly like to show you how I carry them around every single day. Today's video sponsor Tomtoc sent me two sleeves worth showing you, the Essence A35 and the Essence A34. Both of these are built specifically for the 13-inch MacBook Air, and I've tested them with this exact MacBook Air M1, the M2, and of course the MacBook Air M4. And the fit is genuinely seamless. It's molded right to the Air's dimensions with zero wasted bulk. And what actually sold me is Tomtoc's corner armor. So if you take a look at the corners, you'll see it says corner armor, which means that the corners are reinforced with shock absorbing foam that's job tested to military spec. And yeah, you can definitely feel the quality of these bags. Now the difference. The A35 is the minimalist pick. It's slim, it has one front pocket and one side handle. The A34 goes bigger. It has a top handle, 4 front pockets, plus a rear slot. And look, these bags are amazing. They fit in everything that I need. And of course, they come in multiple sizes. So if you have a MacBook, they pretty much got you covered. Links in the description if you want one. And now, back to the MacBook Air M1. Okay, so let's have a quick chat about battery life. And the M1 MacBook Air that I bought here from Facebook Marketplace has like, I don't know, but the battery is quite in good condition. Let me just quickly check. I think it was at like 90-something%. Yeah, take a look at that. It's at 93%, which is honestly quite good. But the strange thing is, if we open Coconut Battery, it'll say that it's only at 86%. So yeah, that's quite a big difference between 86 and 93. But let's just average it out and say it's at 90% health. Also, the cycle count is very low, 159. That's practically nothing. And look, in real life use, this battery lasts as long as my MacBook Neo. It's around, I don't know, 10 to 11 hours. It's pretty much the same. They're neck and neck. But again, I'll have to give some bonus points to the MacBook Air M1 over here, because it charges so much faster than the Neo at 70 watts as opposed to 30 watts, and you can feel it. To fully charge, this thing takes like an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes, while the Neo takes an hour longer, so it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes, and that's just quite, it's quite a lot for a laptop. The keyboard is also backlit on the M1, which again is a bonus point, and the trackpad is indeed a bit nicer being force touch, but I won't give an extra point to the M1 here because the trackpad on the Neo is also fantastic, even though it's just a physical one. The display is great as well, and look, while I'm not a fan of these chunkier bezels that aren't even uniform, if you take a look, the top bezel is actually thicker than the bottom bezel, and plus it only goes up to 400 nits of maximum brightness as opposed to 500 nits on the Neo, but it really doesn't matter in real life use. Both are more than bright enough, although now that I say that, I'm thinking that the MacBook Air M1 has a slightly better anti-reflective coating than the Neo, which practically has no anti-reflective coating, so that's another difference to keep in mind. Oh, and the good thing about the MacBook Air M1, it has two Thunderbolt 3 ports, which go up to 40 gigabits per second. Okay, that's good, but what about the Neo? Well, it also has two USB-C ports, but one is capped at 10 gigabits per second, and the other one is USB 2.0, which is like 480 megabits per second in 2026. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. Either way, let's do a quick demo of the MacBook Air M1, and yeah, see how fast it is. As you saw, Safari opened instantly. If we go to apple.com, it's absolutely instant, no hesitation. If we go to macrumors.com, which is a site that I visit every single day, just take a look at that. It's pretty much instant. If we go to YouTube and search for one of my videos, or actually for my channel, there it is. I start the video up, it loads instantly. The speakers are good. Absolutely no complaints. Performance in day-to-day use will not be an issue on this MacBook, trust me. Yeah, if you start editing and rendering very heavy 4K 60 FPS projects, yes, it is going to start slowing down a bit. But for regular use, YouTube, office work, Word, I don't know, it's fine. And guys, look, oh, and girls, if we sum everything up, performance is the same as the MacBook Neo, right? The display is also pretty much the same. The keyboard is also the same, but it's backlit. The battery life is the same. Everything is pretty much the same, but the MacBook Air costs half as much as the MacBook Neo, $300 as opposed to $600 or $700. So why would anyone even consider getting the MacBook Neo when you have this guy? It doesn't make any sense. Yes, and while that's true, there are also a ton of customers who only like to buy new stuff that's, under warranty. And I appreciate that and I respect that. And for those guys, the MacBook Neo is still the way to go. But if you want to save a few $100s, get this instead, the M1 MacBook Air. And trust me, you won't be disappointed at all. You'll thank me later. And another huge bonus point for the Neo actually is that it will definitely receive more updates going forward. Because the M1 MacBook Air is a 2020 model, while the MacBook Neo is a 2026 model. And that's a huge difference of 6 years. And while performance is the same, Apple doesn't care. Apple simply gives you 7 to 8 hours of software support from the date it was released, regardless of performance. So keep that in mind as well. But as of now, both are getting the latest macOS Golden Gate this September. So the big question is, should you pick up the M1 MacBook Air up today, especially for a good price like $300? Yes, definitely, for sure. Don't even think about it. Just buy it and thank me later. The Neo is also a good option, or a used M2 or M3 MacBook Air, or even an M1 Pro 14-inch MacBook Air, but those are a bit more expensive. But I don't know, honestly, I would just stick to the M1. And I've used this machine for the past couple of weeks and I had no issues. I've edited a bunch of videos. I'll even edit this video because why not? And I'll drop a note to let you know how it went, but I'm sure it'll be fine. And look, the thing that this guy has and the MacBook Neo does not have is that the M1 MacBook Air has a version with 16 gigabytes of RAM. And if you manage to find that, even if it's $50 or $100 extra, it's such a huge difference. That extra 8 gigabytes of RAM will make such a huge difference. So if you find one with 16 gigabytes, definitely get that. And honestly, you'll be golden for the next 5 years, easily. But either way, let me know down below if you've ever used an M1 MacBook Air or, hey, even the Neo. And of course, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And as always, this was Dave on Tech signing out, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys and girls.